Okay, so here's the foot pedal. It's not much to it. It's really small and light and portable. I'm really excited about it for a lot of reasons, mostly because it should really make foot pedals accessible for a whole lot more people, because it only costs, depending on how you configure it, under $100 to build. It's an electric foot pedal, but it's battery powered, and it'll run for, as far as we can tell, months on one of these little rechargeables. And it has some really nice advantages operating wise, because it's so close to the torch. It's so small you can put it right up under the table, and it's so close to the torch that the shutdown time is a lot quicker than floor mounted stuff. So I'm going to take this off, and we can get behind the camera for a second, look at the individual parts, and then talk about what it takes to put it together, and most importantly what the big catch is, because there is unfortunately one problem. I'm hoping maybe the community can help me solve that problem. So here we go. Alright, so here's just the operating video. It turns up on pretty quick, just like any other foot pedal. Because the box here is so close to the torch, it turns off a good deal faster than any floor mounted foot pedal would be. And you could even shorten that up a little bit more if you wanted to go a little bit quicker. All in all, operates pretty much just like any other foot pedal in terms of speed and efficiency, but for a whole lot less. So here is the actual foot pedal and all its little parts. It is ridiculously simple, which is kind of what's great about it, and it also makes it awful cheap. So to begin with, like I said, you got two pedals. Now that has to do with the valves and the way they work, and I'll talk about that in a second. Basically, they're just on-off foot pedals, momentary action, and they run on that plug out over here to the valves. And also we've got our little rechargeable battery pack here. It can plug in to charge, or it can run with a plug if you wanted to. It has an insanely long life because this thing uses a tiny amount of power to operate. It's Velcro for the back, and it's got a little on and off switch there, and a little power monitor. I don't know if you can see the bars when you press it. You can see them go down a little bit. You can hear the valve operate, or the valves operate. Here are the valves, and these are really what make all this tick. I'm not going to take them out of the box here just because it's a big pain. You can see what they look like out of the box in the parts list, which I'll link. But basically what you have here is just two motorized ball valves, and that is what sort of makes all this really great. The motorized ball valve is a good alternative, perhaps a much better alternative than the standard solenoid switch, because unlike a solenoid switch, which has to have power constantly flowing through it to maintain open, and also as a result of that generates heat constantly, these are only powered when they're being moved. So it's a 90-degree valve, just like a normal ball valve you would find on any number of fuel systems or water systems or anything else. Little ball with holes in it, turns in a socket. This is only different because it's got a servo motor that actuates it. But the great thing, as opposed to a solenoid, is that it just moves the valve open or closed in whichever direction you want, and then once you let go of the pedal, no more power. This means it's much more power efficient, and all around, a better deal. Now, here comes the catch. The big problem with motorized ball valves is that if you buy them American, they are hundreds of dollars. The good news is that there are Chinese ones that are very often made in the same very factories, available on Amazon for pennies on the dollar. These cost about 25 bucks, which is a joke. And they work great so far. These have been operating flawlessly for me for hundreds of closings and openings. We've been testing them for a while. Now, the problem is that the fuel side here needs to have a seat made of a slightly different material. It needs to be made of Viton instead of Teflon. This, for a manufacturer, is a very small change that costs almost nothing, but because they're not produced for Amazon by those Chinese factories, we can only buy them from American factories for hundreds of dollars. There's no real reason they're that much more expensive in this particular case. Sometimes there's a good reason, this case. These are simple servo motors stuck onto a valve. You can take it apart and look at it. There's no reason they should be hundreds of dollars. And so that's that. Now the problem is trying to source some Viton seal motorized ball valves, and I would love it if anybody out there has any sources or ideas or what have you, or willing to work with me on it. I have, you know, talked to some Chinese factories. It can be done, but you know, these things are a process. So if anybody has any ideas, that would be great. That aside, this foot pedal costs under $100. It operates really, really well, and anybody can put it together in like an hour. It's incredibly simple. So hopefully we can get the little bug worked out, and this will allow people access to foot pedals, which are really a powerful tool, you know, in the hands of a good glassblower, for a whole lot cheaper, and maybe everybody can have one that might not be able to afford them now, and that would be really cool. So thanks a lot for looking, and please give me any feedback, subscribe to the channel, check out the parts, yada yada. Have a good one. Happy tinkering.